Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Welcome. Just waiting for some people to join. Good morning. I see a few over on Facebook. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I've had an interesting night. I'll fill you in a second as people join. You know, I'm wearing my glasses today with no makeup. Did you notice? You want to know why? Well, I live in Arizona, and last night I was stung by a scorpion at night while I was sleeping. And my right hand is completely numb. There is no feeling. I cannot move it very easily. And so putting in contacts, doing makeup, and doing my hair was just not an option this morning. So you guys get Dr. Pingel raw. Here I am. And just trying to get through the pain from it. For all of you joining, yes, I was stung by a scorpion last night. First time it's ever happened. And so therefore, you know, it's like I went to go put my contacts in and I was like, oh, I can't feel my fingers. So that just didn't happen, right? So hello, here I am in my pajamas, here to do my live. And we're going to talk about dehydration today, which is a big one here in Arizona, but also everywhere. And in fact, many of the clients that I see, a lot of their symptoms can be resolved simply by assessing hydration levels and adding the appropriate amount of water. People are asking questions. Yes, it was in my home. I was sleeping and I put my hand under my pillow and I felt something, woke up, saw the little bugger, and killed him. Well, I should say I screamed and my husband killed him, but he's dead nonetheless. And my hand, I'm told it will recover. It's just completely numb, like asleep up through my elbow. And if I touch it, it feels like, you know, like when your foot's asleep and you step on your foot? Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's like shoots pain all the way up my arm. It's a joy. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, but I'll be okay. We'll survive. I didn't have any fast remedies to talk about today on scorpion bites outside of, some wives' tales here and there. So I figured we'll talk about something else and I'll get through it, right? So in my pajamas. And then I thought about taking my glasses off, but then I can't see my notes. So heck, you know? So anyway, we're gonna talk about dehydration. So dehydration is the root of many symptoms that people maybe don't realize, especially at the chronic mild dehydrated level, okay? Once you get severely dehydrated, I think you can Google doctor all of those symptoms pretty quickly. And you see that a lot in elderly where they start to get, dementia and delirium and such from being chronically dehydrated or just severely dehydrated. But when you're mildly dehydrated, it results in these minimum symptoms that maybe you're not aware of. So I want to talk about those. So let's start with that. Let's start with some of the symptoms that I see in people that I find are chronically mild dehydrated. One of the most common is allergy-like symptoms. So have you ever had like that mucus in the back of your throat or in the back of your nose where it just kind of sits there? It's like it's not moving, but it still just sits there. And there's no other symptom, there's no fever. The allergies may not be out there, but it's like this mucus is just stuck. It needs to be thinned. That's a very common situation in people that are mildly dehydrated. So I always recommend check your water status. Just take a look at what you're drinking. How much should you be drinking? And I'm going to say this probably multiple times during this live today. Half your body weight in ounces at minimum. Okay? So if you're 200 pounds, you need at least 100 ounces a day at minimum. Now, if you're drinking coffee, which I do not have right now because I've been up since 1:30 a.m. with this darn scorpion sting, so I drank my coffee like 4 hours ago. um, every time you have coffee, you've got to add more water. Okay, so yes, you can get hydration through herbal teas and through other things, but I still recommend pure old water, half your body weight in ounces. Often you'll find that once you start doing that, some of these symptoms start to resolve, okay, or at least make it a little bit more clear as to what the problem is. So I do see that. The feeling of fatigue, very, very common. Very common with mild dehydration. Why? Let's think about it, guys. So what does water give you? Okay, water gives you oxygen, right? That's a source of oxygen for us. Gives us hydration so that we can have proper electrolyte balance, so that we can move toxins through the body. Every time I move my hand, I'm like, ow, damn bug. Sorry, for those of you joining, I was stung by a scorpion, so I'm a little like, yeah, you know, I'll come back. I'll be fine tomorrow. So anyway, I'm a trooper. I gave labor to I was in labor with 2 children. I can handle a scorpion sting, right? We can get through this. So, but what was I saying? Oh, yes. You can feel a little bit tired from dehydration because water provides oxygen. Okay, so if you need to get oxygen to the tissue, water is a source of that, right? It's part of the whole thing. Helps electrolyte balance go in and out of the cell, but it also helps get water and oxygen to where it needs to go. That's why a lot of the symptoms of dehydration are due to low oxygen perfusion, right? Dizziness, feeling kind of lightheaded, tired, mucus in the back of the throat, mild headaches. A lot of times you can get muscle cramps, and they're mild. They're not so much that you think there's a problem. It's almost like they're just mild enough where you're complaining. So a lot of people end up on medications for restless leg syndrome, instead of looking at hydration levels. Even if you are taking things like magnesium for muscle cramps, magnesium needs water to get in and out of the cell, right? It's a transport mechanism, so the water goes hand in hand. You can take all sorts of supplements, but if you don't have enough water, they're not going to do what they have to do. Now, I have someone asking if sparkling water makes a difference. I drink sparkling water. I do like it. I think if it's your only source, it's not going to be enough because there is obviously the carbonate in there. I always say a minimum of half your body weight in water, and then if you want to add sparkling water on top of that or herbal teas or whatever, that's perfectly fine. Now, some of you may argue and say, well, you can drink too much water. Yes, you can. It is not the norm, okay? But you can, so don't be crazy. Just get your minimum and a little bit more. If you're exercising, you need more than that. So I regularly exercise every day. I have to have at least half my body weight, if not more, in order to avoid any symptoms of dehydration, okay? Hello, a lot of people joining today. Hello. I know many of you heard the story already, but I was stung by a scorpion last night in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. and there was no way from a completely numb hand that I could put contacts in or anything. So here I am in my pajamas. So those are some of the symptoms of mild dehydration. Now, a lot of people ask, how long does it take to rehydrate if you start to rehydrate from dehydration? So usually within a few hours, you start to notice an improvement, but it could take up to days depending on how chronically dehydrated you are. Now, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. I'm fine. We killed the scorpion and that was the ultimate goal. He will not be back again, and hopefully none others. I lived in Arizona for over 20 years. I've never been stung by a scorpion until last night, so I think I'm doing pretty good. But anyway, it can take a while to rehydrate. So one of the things I wanted to clue you in on is that if you're one of those people that drinks water and you find that you're urinating it out almost immediately, most likely you are on the side of dehydration. You will find as you drink more water and incorporate more water into your routine, you'll still go to the restroom regularly because you want to clear toxins, but it won't be as fast. You'll have a little bit of time. So if you're finding you drink a glass and then you're going and you drink a glass and then you're going, as you go along, you'll be able to drink 2 glasses before you have to go, or, so I would take that as an indication that the water isn't necessarily being absorbed into the cell as well as it could be. So sometimes that's a mineral deficiency. Sometimes it's simply that you're already dehydrated. So having a balance of both is usually fairly helpful. But it could take anywhere from a day to a week or so on a mild dehydrated case to start to see the benefits of that hydration. So how many out there have this issue? A lot of you, I bet. One does. I see that. Yeah. So also another tip, if you're one of those people, probably shouldn't drink water really late at night or you're going to be up all night long, but you'll find over time that you'll be able to sleep through the night and you can have water throughout the day. I also, for me as a rule, the only way that I drink all my water is to use one of these. For some reason, when I drink it through a straw, I do it all. I get it. So I have to drink two of these a day for my body weight. So that's what I do. And I usually try to get the first one done by noon. I find that if I drink at least half of my requirement by noon, I usually get it all in. If I don't, let's say that I overload on coffee or I get up and go do things and I don't pay attention to my water content, it's a lot harder for me to catch up in the afternoon. So that's a couple tips I always give. Use something like this. If you're at a job or you have someone at your house that can refill a water glass all day, you'll tend to drink it more. So I have a colleague, when we first opened practice together, we would each bring each other water because we would always remember to refill our friend's glass, but we would never refill our own. And then we found if there was a glass full in front of us, we would drink it. So I would refill hers and she would refill mine. Kind of funny. I'd never refill my own. So until I got this, now I refill this twice a day. Decaf coffee count as hydration? No, not really. I mean, there's some water component in there, obviously, but I still would get that minimum and maybe a touch more if you're drinking coffee, because there still are dehydrating components of coffee. And you all know I love my coffee. I don't have my cool little mug this morning. I'll bring it back tomorrow. So, I mean, I grew up in Seattle, so coffee is kind of a staple. I think I've got rid of pretty much every other vice in my life, so I still have a little bit of coffee in the morning, but I also have to drink extra water because of it. Okay, so So we talked about why dehydration can cause some of these symptoms due to oxygen. So let's talk about blood pressure a little bit, because the stats on blood pressure, I mean, how many in America have high blood pressure? Quite a lot. I don't have the stat in front of me, but let me also give you another stat. 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. Okay, so how many of you are out there this morning? 75% of you are already dehydrated, okay? Now, if you also have elevated blood pressure, especially in mild levels, it may be contributing to that, okay? So here's the situation with blood pressure when it comes to dehydration. If you Google dehydration, it will say it causes low blood pressure. Okay, and it does if it's really severe. So we'll talk about that. But we're talking about mild dehydration right now, the stuff that maybe you're not paying attention to, and that will actually raise your blood pressure. Okay, so in the earlier stages, the body will change the way that it uses its electrolytes. Okay, so it'll absorb more sodium, right? Which will raise the blood pressure up. The balance between water, sodium, magnesium, calcium, potassium gets out of balance, and that causes problems, particularly stress on the body, which causes a response from the adrenal glands to raise the blood pressure, and also just simply an electrolyte imbalance. So if you're someone that has mild blood pressure, high blood pressure, make sure you're drinking enough water. If you're not, start to incorporate that and monitor your blood pressure and see how it helps. It cannot hurt, okay? When you are severely dehydrated, you lose volume, and that's why blood pressure would drop. So if you're getting really low blood pressure from dehydration, that's a medical emergency, okay? So pay attention to how your body's responding. I find that the majority of these people, the 75%, are mildly dehydrated. Yes, Mary, you need to up your water intake, right? It is a big number. Mary is saying 75% is a big number. It is. I mean, just look at all the stats that are going past us right now, and we're talking about 3% or 5%, or, I mean, we're talking about 75% here, folks. Dehydrated, not cool, okay? All right, many of you know that dehydration can cause nausea and vomiting, and that vomiting can cause dehydration. I think that's pretty standard. I think anytime we're sick, we know to drink more water. But I'm talking about when you're not sick, you need to drink more water. More fluids with age, asks Bill. Absolutely, because the volume, blood volume goes down over time. Now, I don't know exactly why. I don't know that there's been an absolute concrete answer as to why blood volume drops as you get older, but I can give you a suspicion, and I think it's mineral deficiency. I think as we get older, we get less minerals, particularly in the elderly. They get to, a lot of the assisted living homes and long-term healthcare facilities, and my grandpa's in one of those, and thank God for them because they take very good care of him. He has dementia, but he's eating grilled cheese sandwiches and French fries, so he's not really getting a lot of vegetables. And if he does, it's like iceberg lettuce and a tomato or something, so the mineral component as you age a lot of the time goes down, not to mention other sorts of concurrent conditions, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, dementia, high inflammation, all of these other disorders that are out there that can also cause mineral deficiencies, which if any of you are new to my lives, go back and watch some of them on some of these major conditions. They almost always come down to nutrition deficiencies or stress, okay? So there's a reason why. Kids also can have this issue, right? Especially as infants. That's why you always look at inputs and outputs. You're putting the bottle in, are they peeing? That's what you care about, right? You're watching inputs and outputs. You do the same in elderly. But if we can prevent that in between these ages and make sure we're drinking enough water, we can set ourselves up for less disease when we become elderly, right? So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm a preventative medicine doctor. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that we prevent as much as possible, okay? And then when something does happen, we support the body the best that we can to overcome it rather than constantly suppress it. That's kind of what I'm all about. That's my thing, right? Dr. Trisha Pingel's morning checkup is all about that. So it's nice to see many of you. You guys are throwing some questions at me here. I see one from Ed on Facebook. I can't really click on it at the moment. I'll come back and answer that one. With this frozen hand I have from the scorpion sting, I'm kind of limited on what I can do at the moment. So we're just gonna pull through. So I do want to mention a couple other things before I let you go. Number one, dehydration can cause chest pain. Okay, so often people have chest pain, they go to the ER, they think they're having a heart attack. What's the first thing that they do? They put them on fluids. Why? Because it could be dehydration. Now, I'm not saying don't go to the ER, but I'm saying on your way to the ER, maybe drink some water, okay? Or assess, have I had any water today, right? That can cause chest pain, so I wanna make you aware of that. This is stuff that you can prevent so that you don't get freaked out thinking you're having a heart attack when you're just dehydrated if you're drinking water regularly, okay? So stay on top of your hydration. Kidney pain. I have an awesome story from a client many years ago who came to me. She was an elderly lady and she had been seeing a nephrologist for kidney disease. They had said, look, your kidneys are failing. We're gonna put you on medication. And this sweet woman came to me just for second opinion, just to kind of see if there's anything she could do naturally to help because she wanted to prolong this, right? So when I looked at her labs, I asked her, I said, you look really dehydrated in your labs. How much water are you drinking? And she was drinking like a half a glass a day. Okay, now, in defense of the nephrologist, kidney disease can cause dehydration. But guess what? Dehydration can also cause kidney disease. So what I did is I had her slowly uptake her water. Now, I didn't want to drown her with water because she had kidney disease, supposedly. So we kind of slowly increased her water over the course of a couple weeks. When I redrew her labs, her kidney function was normal. She no longer had kidney disease, and she was released from the nephrologist at that time. So water made a huge difference. Sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's more complicated. This is stuff to work with your doctor, but having the right amount of water in your system is only gonna help, okay? It's gonna help you get to the bottom of the condition even faster, okay? You wanna rule out dehydration. Every single condition, rule out dehydration. Deal? Deal, okay. So, some fun stuff to do to stay hydrated. Here in Arizona, it's very hot at the moment, so we have to work even harder at staying hydrated. So I think we're in the hundreds now, easily, which to some of you out there probably think is crazy. We still think it's kind of cool around here because we're gonna get up to about 120 at some point. So we're all outside and taking walks and doing all sorts of stuff. And so we definitely have to stay hydrated. So outside of drinking water, which to repeat, half your body weight in ounces every single day at minimum, okay? 200-pound person needs 100 ounces of water, right? But you can also You can also eat foods that have high water component, right? Some of you may like watermelon, grapefruit, grapes. Eating a plant-based diet in general makes a huge difference. I know I talk about plant-based diets all the time, I know, but there's so much benefit, not only for the mineral component of the plants, but also for the water component of the plants. Water and minerals go hand in hand. They work together to keep your cells healthy, okay? So, plant-based diet, water-rich foods, coconut water. I love coconut water because it adds those minerals. Okay, so coconut water is a great option. Obviously, if you're in a hot place like I am, you want to limit your amount of time in the sun, especially if you tend to run dehydrated. I still recommend going outside every day because I like the vitamin D. So I go outside anyway, but I drink a ton of water. Obviously, playing sports, you're outside. Those are things you have to pay attention to, guys. If you're not drinking enough water and you're going out to play football, yeah, you're going to start to get symptoms. Fatigue, mild headaches, not feeling quite right, and watch for that mucus I talked about earlier. For those that are just joining, go back and watch the beginning, okay? Because I gave you some tips in there of how to spot mild dehydration. And for those of you that have been so kind to sit through all my blabber, I'm not going to repeat it 1,000 times, but all of you go back and watch, okay? Popsicles. I have a recipe for a couple popsicles on my website, but that's a great way to get water in, especially for kids. Make popsicles. Make it with coconut water. Right, and you can put some fruit juice in there, or you can crush raspberries and coconut water and freeze it. That's a great way to get hydration for kids. Smoothies, great way as well, especially if you're picking vegetables and fruits from your smoothies. Yes, Becky, I know my audio is off from my speech. So Facebook changed a bunch of stuff yesterday. I had no audio yesterday, so I went back to the iPad today. That's the side effect of the iPad, right? Is that it's not synced. But with everything that happened last night with this scorpion sting and not being able to use my hand, I just thought, well, I better get live at some point. So here I am. So thank you to all of you that have joined. I saw some new faces out there today. Some of you who I know, nice to see you. I won't call you out, but so nice to see you. People from my past, which I love, over there on Facebook. So hello, I saw you. And all of you that are asking questions over on Instagram, my usual crew joining in over there, thank you so much. I am going to go rest this hand because it hurts. So if you've ever been stung by a scorpion, just know it is no fun and it hurts a lot. So hang in there, and I'm going to hang in there, and I'm going to go take it easy. It is my son's 12th birthday today, so I promised him I was going to bake a cake. That might be a fun thing to video because I'm going to try to make a cake with one hand. And someone said they tried my vegan chocolate tart. Yeah, that's my favorite. For any of you that haven't tried the vegan chocolate tart that I have on my website, you need to try it. It is so good. It is so good. And it's made from avocados. So it's also not such a bad choice. So to all of you out there, thank you so much. This is Dr. Pingel, and this is my morning checkup. I'm here every Monday through Friday, right around this time. If this was helpful to you, please share it. I love that you guys are sharing. I love seeing familiar faces. Thank you so much. I have an article on dehydration as well as many other conditions at drpingel.com. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye.